Wish TV is focused on family and the community and is committed to sharing the stories of those who are making a difference every day. From the All Indiana Podcast Network and Wish TV, this is Behind the Eight Podcast with Wish TV's George Mallet.
Welcome to Behind the Eight. I'm George Mallet. In a moment, we'll talk with Ray Brune, the Senior Executive Producer of News and Programming here at Wish TV 8, a man who has garnered multiple Emmy Awards in a career of major market and network television assignments. Stick around for Behind the Eight and Ray Brune.
As we kick off 2023, there's probably a long list of resolutions that you're looking to achieve. Eating better, more exercise, and saving more for retirement. But what resolutions are you making for the success of your business or work team this new year? According to industry analysts, most teams lose a whopping 76 days of productivity each year due to inefficient collaboration across too many work tools. This is exactly why ClickUp was founded, to help make teams more productive with one app to replace them all. ClickUp is a collaborative work hub that brings together everything organizations, managers, and teams need to do better work, faster, all in one place. If you're ready to start the new year off right for your business, check out ClickUp. Use code PODCAST to get 15% off ClickUp's massive unlimited plan for a year, meaning you can start reclaiming your time for under $5 a month. Sign up today at clickup.com and use code PODCAST. Take your team's productivity to the next level with ClickUp today.
He is the Senior Executive Producer for News and Programming here at Wish TV 8. I am joined by Ray Brune. Ray, thanks for joining me today.
No problem. How you doing?
Good. I want to talk to you, first of all, about your history, because your resume is amazing. A friend of mine recently got promoted to the morning anchor job in Milwaukee, and we've had some conversations back and forth. He asked me about working with Ray Brune, and he talked about in this new position he was going to try and channel the spirit of Ray Brune. I'm paraphrasing here.
Right.
And what you did at KTLA, because you were the architect of arguably the most successful local morning show America's ever seen at KTLA. What was that experience like?
To be completely honest, it was very much an accident. It just happened. And the great thing for me was I took notes, and I watched how it happened, and I then went to other stations and networks and elsewhere and just repeated what I learned and the steps that happened in this show. The show is very much personality driven. It's all about the hosts. People watch for them first, then they watch for the news and the traffic and weather and all that stuff. And I just followed all the steps that we did, creating signature segments. Like we had our helicopter peek into the 65th floor of a high-rise to see what the office workers were doing at that time, and we try to speak to people on screen and have them wave at us and stuff. And that's a signature segment that you can only see on Channel 5. So it was creating signature segments. It was curating the content to make sure that we don't run every shooting and fire, but we run the stuff that people are talking about and people are interested in. And it's become an art form.
So that was really different. I mean, like the thing with the helicopter, that's completely different than anything anybody was doing previously. Did you encounter any pushback when you started to do that stuff?
No, at KTLA, not at all. I mean, other places, yes. After KTLA, I was hired at GMA Sunday to do the same thing there. And it was nothing but kickback there.
GMA, Good Morning America Sunday.
Right.
Network.
Right. I had Bill Ritter, who was an amazing host. I had a female host who didn't have much of a personality, so it was very difficult to create a personality out of her. Plus, every day after the show, I'd get a call. These are ABC News correspondents. You can't have them sitting on the kitchen counter. It's like, well, I'm doing what I would do if, with any kind of personality-driven show, and you got to do that. And there were points when I would walk into the building, and I could feel the energy that people were looking and seeing that we were doing something different and trying something different. And ultimately, it failed because they wouldn't let me succeed.
You've used that expression several times, personality-driven. what you do is really incumbent on you getting dynamic talent, correct?
It's finding dynamic talent and then developing them further, because you can find a lot of talent, but if they're not willing, if they have if they're comfortable in their ways and they don't want to go the next step and try something new, you're not going to make it happen. So you got to find the people who are willing to take the risks, and it's all about taking risks on the air. You got to get out of your comfort zone, which is very cliche to say, but it's true, and you got to take the next risk and the next risk, and you got to make sure that your bosses and their bosses are okay with you taking these risks, because I can't do something unless I get the support of everyone above me.
Right.
I mean, I go out I spend most of my time in the studio pushing the guys and anchors, telling them, okay, now try this, now do this, now let's try this. And they want to feel comfortable and they want to feel safe and they want to know that I have their back. And so the bottom line is we do a show every day and not everything's going to work. Sometimes it's going to be awful. I've had awful shows on the air. But we've grown from that and we've learned from that. And now, most of the hosts I work with can handle anything because we've had the failures and they're not scared of it anymore. Now they know that when something fails, they make a joke out of it, they move on to the next thing.
And you've taken this same philosophy and brought it here to Wish TV 8, and in particular, putting together All Indiana. How much fun has that been for you to work with us working in a smaller Midwest market?
It's identical. It doesn't matter. I mean, how many people are watching, whether it's a network, national show, or a local show. It's all about, for me, the personalities and bringing to life, the stuff that we're talking about. I think Alexis and Randall and you and Ashley and so many other people who have been on the show are amazing, and they're willing to try everything we can to move forward. They're not afraid to ad-lib and to give us some vulnerability and talk about some, things that are not, too personal for them to talk about elsewhere. And that's what it's all about. I mean, viewers know the names of their dogs and the names of their husbands and wives and all that stuff because they're just like their best friends on TV.
Well, so we've talked specific names here. Let's drop some other names. I want to get your reaction and maybe some stories. Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer is an amazing human being. And I have to tell your audience that you have to divorce yourself from that TV show he did. Because that's not him.
Yeah.
I mean, he got lucky. He came across this weird format. He now owns his personal jet and flies around wherever he wants. All that kind of stuff is great. But he's a great legal mind. He's a genuinely nice person. And he wasn't born in the U.S., so he couldn't become president. But after he was mayor in Cincinnati, he ran for governor, and that didn't work out. And that's when he moved into television. He's a great, brilliant legal mind, and I'm sorry to see that he didn't go further in politics because we need people like him.
Chris Harrison. And Chris Harrison, I should point out, was the host of The Bachelor in one of his many positions.
I hired him from Oklahoma City, where he was a sports anchor at a local station. I brought him to TVG, which was our horse racing network that I was starting up. Being the right brain producer I am, I'm trying to figure out ways to create some interest and fun into the network instead of just the data and the logic and the analytics that come with horse racing. So we created this show at night, late night, called Trackside Light. And basically our whole point was to get viewers who don't know much about horse racing into horse racing, to revive the sport and to get people betting. Our channel, you could bet via your remote control. So Chris Harrison was one of the people on Trackside Light who was fun, had a great time with it. I found this amazing woman, Claudia Simon, who was British, and she was hysterical and just brought the show to life. Todd Schrupp did an amazing job as well.
All right, I'm going to continue dropping names. Ty Treadway. Tell me about Ty Treadway.
Ty Treadway is amazing. He's great. I remember when I was working with Merv Griffin, we were looking for a host for Merv Griffin's Crosswords. And Ty's agent, who I knew very well, called me up. and this is one of the few times an agent has actually called me up to push one talent. Normally they call up and say, okay, we got this person and this person and this person, and they're not pushing one person. Whoever we want, you'll take.
Yeah.
But he was like, Ty is great. This is his gig. He can do it. Blah blah blah. And I introduced him to Merv, and he was ultimately hired for the job. When I ended up in Dallas for a year, I found out that Ty was living there because that was his hometown, and so I put him on the air there. And so he was doing a morning show exactly as I dreamed of him doing. It was like a dream job for him and a dream job for me because I didn't have to do anything. He just knew exactly how to run that kind of show.
You keep being self-deprecating, talking about how you didn't really do anything. It was dumb luck. But I can see that you've got that sort of intangible Midwest work ethic. You're from Cincinnati originally.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of Midwesterners, whether we're talking about Orson Welles or Ray Brune, who are very successful in the big time. Is that a real thing, that Midwestern work ethic, Midwestern creativity? I
think it's more of what you buy into. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles for 20-something years, and people just bought into all the publicity, and they bought into all the stuff that they're so amazing, they're so great, and this and that. And I've never bought into that for myself. I've won 4 Emmys, but the fact is, none of the greatest stuff I've ever produced was even nominated for an Emmy, much less won. So the stuff I won for, I'm very grateful, but it wasn't my best stuff. So I don't buy into all that. I have very little ego. I just don't. I remember my boss introducing me to my E! News Live staff as he's someone who's egoless, and I never thought of that before, but it's true because I work with what I'm given.
We talked about how what you were doing at KTLA and subsequently was entirely original. It must be gratifying for you to now see some of your ideas as more of the industry standard. We're all doing more of what you were doing when you started at KTLA.
Well, I truly believe that in this day and age, with all this digital technology and every station has access to the exact same stories. It used to be we all had our own little stories, and where'd they get that? Now, because of the internet, we all have access to the same stories. So the one thing that differentiates us, Wish TV, from any other station in this market is the personalities. And that's why I think personalities are so important, because anybody can read a prompter. And I think, as it's very difficult to do Lifestyle Live because you've got to be a personality, and you've got to talk, and you've got to ad-lib, and who knows what's going to happen in the next minute of the show. And it's most news anchors don't have that. They just read the prompter, toss to weather and traffic, and that's their day.
And that's arguably not the way things are going to be done going forward at all.
Not going forward. Your newscast now has to travel to all those digital platforms, and that means it has to be accessible where viewers are coming to get the show, whether it's on Roku, whether it's on Apple TV, wherever. So your show has to be not only accessible, but something that they're going to want to watch on one of those platforms as well as off air.
He is Ray Brune. He is the senior executive producer for news and programming here at Wish TV8, and he's an original thinker, a self-described right-brain guy.
Absolutely.
Ray, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
My thanks again to Ray Brune, a busy man who took the time to join us here for Behind the Eight. I'm George Mallet. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Eight. Subscribe to this and other podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Behind the Eight Podcast with Wish TV's George Mallet. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And connect for even more on Facebook and at wishtv.com.